Welcome, and thank you for joining us for tonight's virtual town hall regarding student health and safety. I am Jonte Elliott, currently serving as a Student Government Association Vice President for this academic year, and I am proud to serve as a moderator for this event. Tonight, you will hear from the Dean of Students, Residential Life, Campus Police, the Division of Student Affairs, Health and Wellness Team, on topics related to campus safety and effort, and measures they're implementing to keep us all safe. Please keep in mind a few protocols for tonight. Video has been turned off for everyone except the panelists. This means you will only be able to see the panelists throughout the town hall. All attendees have been muted to keep the program running smoothly without interruptions. If we are unable to get to your question tonight, please submit them to ncculife@nccu.edu, and we'll send you a response. This evening's town hall will also be recorded and posted to NCCU's Life YouTube page to rewatch later. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce the Vice Chancellor of the Division of Student Affairs, Dr. Angela Coleman. Thank you.
Thank you, VP Elliott. And good evening, Eagles, and thank you for joining us today. I hope that each of you has had a restful, safe, and healthy winter break, and that you are ready to dive back into campus life within the coming weeks. Today's virtual town hall is designed to share information about campus safety initiatives and health precautions, as well as to remind everyone in the Eagle community, in the Eagle family of community standards and safety precautions that we can all take to protect the nest this spring. So before we get started, I really want to take a quick moment to brag about North Carolina Central, about the students, about the staff here. This fall, North Carolina Central was a model of success, and we stayed open this fall, even as our neighbors in the state university system had to shut down quickly and switch to virtual teaching amid spikes in cases. We were able to get through a successful semester. And I thank the students, particularly in part, as well as the staff, because we were vigilant. And I think our level of vigilance and students complying, collaborating with us and partnering with administration really made the difference. So not to throw shade on my colleagues in the UNC system, but I definitely think that we soared above the rest in the fall. So it's my expectation that this spring we will do the same. As you know, the health and safety of our Eagle family is and will continue to be our top priority. So before we begin, I want to take a brief moment again to personally thank the many members of the NCCU faculty and staff for their hard work and service this past fall to keep us safe and healthy. NCCU is a safe place to live, study, and work, and you are a valuable partner in helping to keep the campus safe and healthy. There are many things the Eagle community can do to maintain our beautiful, safe campus and stay COVID-free. So during this evening's town hall, I encourage each of you to use our chat feature to submit any questions that you may have. Please know that while some questions cannot be answered at this time, we will continue to do our best to provide you with clear answers as well as any updates. At this time, I'd like to welcome our panelists for this evening and thank them for joining us. First, Dr. Mari Ross Alexander, who serves as our Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and in the area of Health and Wellness. Mr. William Clem II, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Student Engagement and Leadership. Chief Damon Williams, our North Carolina Central University Police Chief. And finally, Ms. Joy Hartfield, Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students. So without further delay, let's begin. Thank you.
Good evening, Eagles. As Dr. Coleman says, my name is Dr. Mari Ross Alexander, and I oversee the health and wellness for our students here at NCCU. We are so excited to have you here, but like Dr. Coleman said, it was an endeavor to get us through the fall semester, and it will be one to get us through the spring as well. So we have a pretty comprehensive return to campus plan, followed by surveillance planning, and also with all the services that we provided for last semester. So I'll go into that. The first thing I really want you to understand is that we want you to monitor your health. If you have any symptoms whatsoever, please call the COVID line. It's 919-370-0901. You may have to leave a message because the phone does ring off the hook at this point of the semester, but someone will call you back the same day to give you some advice on what's going on with you. What we do know is that a lot of our young people are not presenting in the normal way that you would think with fevers and things like that. They are having congestion. They have a headache, and it might be a mild headache. And so if any of those symptoms present for you or your student, we really want you to make sure that you give us a call so that we can get you with our health team and determine whether you are safe to come back to campus, or if we need to get you tested, we'll do that. So for move-in, for entry testing, I should say, so for our campus, we are doing entry testing, meaning that anyone who lives in Res Life has to test with a negative test prior to being allowed to move into their hall. All of that testing will happen between the 7th and the 10th, and it will happen at Latham Deck all day. You have to have an appointment. The appointments are extraordinarily important because our testing crew has a certain number of tests per hour that they need to get out and process. So if you cannot make your time, or if you need to schedule an appointment, please visit my housing at my EOL, my housing on my EOL, and get scheduled. If you, for some reason, cannot get scheduled there, call the COVID line and we will make sure that we put you in touch with whoever you need to be in touch with so that you can get your appointment scheduled. Like I said, all the testing will happen at Latham Parking Deck. And so we have a pretty succinct system, and we need everybody to just follow those guidelines, and we'll be able to get everybody tested and back on campus pretty quickly. During that COVID period, so from the 7th through the 10th, with everything ending on the 11th, you will have a wristband. That wristband basically has told us that you have a negative test and you're able to come onto campus. When you get tested, however, you're going to have two tests. One test is a rapid test that tells us in 15 minutes if you have enough virus to be positive. And then we have a second test, which is called a PCR test, which we send off to a lab. We have time for that lab to examine your specimen a little bit deeper and determine if you are indeed negative. So during that period of time, we need to monitor the movement of the students on campus. And so for that reason, you're going to have grab and go meals at the hall, at the dining hall. And that's the only way that you can eat on campus. And we ask that you don't leave campus during that time so we can make sure that everybody's safe here. So you will, on your wristband, it'll have what time you can go to the hall, grab your food and go back to your hall until we get through the move-in period. So again, the wristbands have to be worn, and we're asking you to wear them all the way through January 11th at 11:59. So at midnight, you can cut it off and move about the campus as long as that you are a negative student. If you are positive, and we are going to have some positives because this is just what's happening in our community right now, we do have isolation space here on campus. You can choose to go home. If you want to go home, I just need to be able to talk to you and verify that you have a safe place to be and that all the folks in your home understand how to help and take care of you. If you cannot or do not want to go home, you can isolate on campus, and then our quarantine and isolation team will take care of you. And Dean Hartfield will tell you all about that during her presentation. But what I will say is that I ask that you prepare a bag when you're getting ready to move in, because nobody expects to be positive. No one, none of us. And when you get that positive result, we're going to have to move you pretty quickly. And we want you to have the things that make you feel comfortable while you're in isolation. So prepare a little go bag, as we call it, with your essentials. Make sure your laptop's in there, any academic materials, because you'll still need to go to class, even though you're in isolation. So during the entry testing, all of that will happen. We'll know what we're working with at that point, and then we'll move forward. After that period, on January 25th, we'll start what we call our surveillance testing. And in surveillance testing, we basically take groups of people, we pull them in and we test them just to see what's happening on our campus. There are some groups that are required to test. So if you're taking in-person classes, you will be required to test during the semester. If you have a lab, if you're a student worker on our campus, if you're a high exposure risk student, meaning like nursing, our nursing students that work on hospital campuses and things like that, we require those tests. Also, if you live in Res Life, you will be tested by hall throughout the semester, and that is also a requirement this semester. So our surveillance testing is going to be relatively robust. We still will pull other people into that, but those are the groups that are going to be required to test during our semester. Next slide, please. So enough of the doom and gloom. So we still have a lot of things, a lot of services that we're going to provide for you. The same services we had last semester. Student health is still available. We have extended hours during the week. We have weekend hours now. So Saturday and Sunday, you can still get good care. We have a pharmacist that takes care of all of our pharmacy needs. We do have telemedicine, but we will have in-person visits as well. We'll have 3 clinics, hopefully, that will be all completed, where you can have your well woman care, you can have your immunizations, all the services you had before, we will be providing in the spring of 2021, as well as COVID testing and tracing. So anytime you want to be tested for any reason, if you're a student, you can do so, and you can actually sign up on your own by yourself through Medicat, which is on your MyEOL. Counseling services, again, will be provided via telehealth. For most of the semester, we're going to move into some small groups and some face-to-face sessions as we monitor how this virus is going. And, you know, the best thing to keep you healthy is to stay active. So our gym is going to be open at 30% capacity at this point. It's by appointment only, but they also provide virtual workouts all the time. So there's really no reason not to stay active. So hopefully through all those services and our testing program, we'll be able to secure the nest and keep everybody safe here on campus.
Thank you, Dr. Ross Alexander. Good evening, Eagles. My name is William L. Clem II. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Engagement and Interim Director for Residential Life. I'll be sharing some information with you about what life is going to be like in the residence halls. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat. We are eagerly waiting your questions so we can answer them. No question is a dumb question. Just feel free to ask and we will get the information out to you as quickly as possible. But for those of you who are living in residence halls, please keep in mind that, again, that you have to go through the health screening process in Latham Deck first. Dr. Ross Alexander mentioned MyEOL and my housing through MyEOL. We have had some technical issues with that, but as of about 15 minutes ago, we are up and running again. Some of you may have signed up in our temporary site through Engage on a separate form. Do us a favor and go back into MyEOL and sign up for your time, sign up for the same time. We're going to do some things to make sure we don't miss anything, but to guarantee that your slot is not missed and we don't have any human error, we ask that you go back into MyEOL and make sure that you have signed up for your time. The system is up and running again. Once you complete the health screening, you will receive a wristband like Dr. Ross Alexander mentioned. You will have to wear that wristband until the 11th. Only students with the wristbands will be permitted to enter the residence halls. Unfortunately, due to this pandemic and us trying to really get a tight gauge on what our students are dealing with as far as COVID, we have to limit who can enter the residence halls. Unfortunately, mom, dad, any of the new students that are coming to campus, you will not be permitted in the residence hall. You will be able to help them unload at the car and load up their cart, and then the student will have to take that cart into the residence hall themselves. It is very critical that everybody get an appointment for move-in and the health screening. We will not let you into the residence halls without going through this process. Check in with staff before returning to your room, or failure to check in the residence hall prior to returning to your room is considered a check-in violation and subject to sanctions, including but not limited to removal from university housing. We hate to have to take such a hard stance on this, but it's in the best interest of the health and safety of all students, faculty, and staff here at North Carolina Central. So again, if you know somebody who's living on campus and they haven't talked about their check-in appointment or anything like that, call them. You guys got group chats, group text messages, social media. Remind your fellow Eagles to make sure that they go in and get an appointment. It will make things a lot easier for their check-in. I know sometimes we think, hey, I'll just show up and they'll just let me in. That's not the case this semester. If you do not have an appointment, you will not be permitted into the residence hall. So please work with us, get that appointment locked in so that we can make sure we can get you into your residence hall nice, smooth, and easy. Some of the challenges that we had last semester due to COVID, we had to be very strict on our visitation policy. That presented a number of different challenges because that's a huge culture shift. And I know with being on college campus, you want to interact with your friends, you want to have a good time, but in this current situation, that presents a level of health risk that we cannot take. So visitation has been suspended on campus in the residence halls for the entire semester. Parents and guardians can come and visit their students living on campus provided they fill out the visitation request form first. They have to fill out the visitation request form. This is a request form, not the screener, visitation screener. Those are two separate things. The request form, you fill that out, that goes to residential life. The staff reviews it, and then they will respond back with an yay or a nay as far as the visitation, permission to visit the student. Once you have received an approval, then you will have to do the COVID visitor screening form, which is a completely separate form. A lot of people tend to fill out the request form 5 minutes before mom or dad or someone's supposed to get here. That will not help you. Please plan in advance to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to fill out the form, enough time for us to review the form and respond back. If you do not have an approval response, you will not be permitted on campus. Also, there is no visitation at all from guests from off campus. We are not allowing any visitors from off campus of any sort. Students are not permitted to visit residence halls that they are not assigned to. So if you're a resident of Chidley Hall, you cannot go over to George Street to visit your friend, unfortunately. Also, within the residence halls, if you live in George Street 409 and you want to run down to 404, you can visit from the hallway, but you cannot go into the hall, into the room itself. There is no visitation within the rooms. Again, we're trying to limit the spread of coronavirus. If for some reason you're interacting and hanging out with your friends or hanging out with a group of friends in a room, that increases the possibility of the spread of the virus if someone has it. So we really want to limit that as much as possible. And to further enforce visitation, students may be asked to present their Eagle card as they enter the residence hall so that we can verify if you're a resident of that particular building. Please work with the staff. Do not give us any pushback or anything like that, because that's what we have to do in order to secure your safety. Also, ways to improve residence hall safety in general. Keep your doors locked at all times. Keeping your room locked can prevent unauthorized entry into your living spaces. We have had some incidents where there was theft in the residence halls, and Chief can probably attest to this. Majority of the time, it was because the resident left their room door unlocked, intentionally, purposefully. So if you want to secure your items and secure your safety, make sure you're locking your door at all times. Never prop any doors open to the building. Exterior doors, any doors whatsoever, let them close all the way. Again, that presents a safety risk, but also a health risk given this current situation. So please keep that in mind at all times. We do not let any strangers in the building or onto the floors. Please be reminded there's no visitation at all. So if there's someone that, we walk in, the door is open, and someone's just trailing behind us, don't let them in. I know it's an awkward moment, but it's in the best interest of you and the rest of the students here at North Carolina Central to not let that person in, especially if you don't know them. Criminals can look like anyone. We are living in a major metropolitan area. We're open campus, so people from outside in the community can just make their way on campus. Sometimes we cannot identify the off-campus folks from the campus folks, so just keep that in mind. Just because they may be around your age does not necessarily mean that they're a college student or a central student. Keep all your valuables locked up and keep them, don't bring any value, like for some reason, if you have a family heirloom, like it's your mom's wedding ring or your dad's gold chain or something like that, don't bring it to campus if you can avoid it. If you do have to bring it to campus, keep it locked up, secured, and hidden as much as possible to make sure that no one else knows about it and to make sure that it's not stolen. Mark your property, engrave your valuables and computers and electronics to make sure that we can identify that it's yours. If it comes up missing and then we find it at or is found in an investigation, we want to make sure that we can get the property back to you. If there are any issues on campus, please report any suspicious activities or persons to University Police at 919-530-6106. A new feature that we're adding this year is we've actually contracted with Allied Universal Security Services, and they will be providing additional security in the residence halls overnight. They will primarily be working the desks, but they will also be providing rounds of the buildings, ensuring that doors are not propped open, to ensure that no one's lurking through the residence hall that shouldn't be in the residence hall. They are going to be a part of the community. We've been meeting with the company, and they take a lot of pride of becoming a part of the campus community. They work on a number of different college campuses throughout the area. And so we're happy to have them on board. We're working to make sure that we have consistent staff in place so that they'll become recognized faces and a part of our community, so that they're not just some random person in there. We want to make sure that every resident on campus feels safe in their residence hall. And that's it for me. I will hand things over to our Chief of Police, Damon Williams.
Well, let me say, first of all, Happy New Year to everybody and welcome back to the nest. And we want you guys to be safe while you're here. So while you are here, we want you to know a few things about campus safety. First, when you way around, make sure you are familiar with this campus. If you are a new student, make sure you familiarize yourself with areas in our campus and where you are, locations, what buildings you're close by, your normal pathways of travel. Be familiar with where you are on campus. Don't allow technology to make you unaware of your surroundings. What I see when I'm walking around campus a lot is I see a lot of students walking blindly because you're looking down at your cell phone. So be aware of your surroundings, especially at night. Never walk alone. If you can walk in groups, it's always safer. Like Assistant Vice Chancellor Clem said, we are in a major metropolitan area. So we want you to be safe and we want you to be attentive to your surroundings, okay? Take advantage of several things that the police department offers, including our safety escort service. If you give us a call here at the police department and you would like an escort from your car to your residence hall, we'd be glad to do that. We want to make sure that you get to and from safe, especially at night. If you're parking in the parking deck and you just feel like, I need somebody to be with me because I'm alone, we're glad to do that. We have our security staff and our police staff on campus 24 hours a day. They're here just for those purposes to make sure you get to and from very, very safe. Report any dark or dangerous areas so that we can get those addressed. Working with our facility services, we want to make sure this campus is well lit and that there are no areas on campus that make you uncomfortable. If you see something, say something. This is your community. This is our community. This is the nest. We all have to do our job to protect it. The police department alone cannot keep the campus safe. It takes all of us working together to do that. Be smart on social media. Don't always announce where you're going, when you're going, how you're going. Don't make people aware of your movements. Just be smart and be safe on social media. Be careful who you meet and bring to campus. Like Mr. Clem said, you're not allowed to have any guests, so be careful about what you put on social media and so on and so forth. And one of the most important ones I have to add to this list is always lock your room door, even if you're inside. During the course of the next semester, officers will be doing random checks on interior doors. They won't enter your room, but they will check to make sure that doors are secure and properly locked. And if they're not, you'll receive something under your door letting you know that your door was unsecure. We just want you to be aware that if we found it unlocked, that means anybody else could have found it unlocked and also taken any valuable or items inside. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen during the course of the next semester. We also want to talk about some of the safety features that we have on campus. The biggest one to talk about is our Rave Guardian app. If you don't have this app, you really should get it. We send out regular alerts about things in the area. And this semester in particular, we're rolling out an increased presence on Rave Guardian. So it's going to be important that you have this app, because if something's going on around us, it may not be on this campus, but it may be in our immediate area or around the campus. And we want you to avoid that area. We'll send out notifications through this app to make sure that you're aware that something may be happening in the area. Not necessarily that it affects campus, but if you're traveling in that direction, we don't want you to go that way. This app will help you stay aware of that. So if you haven't downloaded the Rave Guardian app, please go to the App Store. All you have to do is place North Carolina Central as a site, and you'll start getting those notifications from us when they affect our campus or our campus community. So we want you to be careful. Also around the campus, we have blue light emergency light phones. that if you're walking around campus and something happens, for any reason you need police services and you don't have your phone accessible, by all means, walk up to one of these phones and push the button. It's going to immediately notify our dispatchers where you are and what's going on, and we'll send officers to your location as soon as possible. Some of those cameras also, some of those lights also have cameras on top, so we can view what's going on and what's taking place. So we want to make sure that you know that those devices are there on campus for your safety. And like I said before, over the next semester, you're going to see a lot of alerts come out. We're making a conscious effort to keep our student population aware, along with our faculty and staff, of what's going on, not only on campus, but around campus. It doesn't mean that you're in danger, but we want to make you aware of something occurring if it's going to affect this campus community or our surrounding areas. For those of you who don't know, the university in the city of Durham has worked together to expand jurisdiction. So we want to make sure that the area around our campus remains safe in order to keep our campus safe while you're here at NCCU. So if you get those notifications, just be mindful and attentive to them as we are working to keep you safe from areas around that may be affected by police actions, EMS actions, or fire action. Next slide. The biggest thing I heard so far from Mr. Clem and some of the other staff members is do not prop your doors open. This is a big one for us, but the university has invested in several forms of safety technology, including our camera systems. I'm sure you've seen them around this campus. The university has gone through great lengths to expand our eye in the sky to make sure that we can track and keep you safe while you're here on this campus. So we have those increased security features the university has invested in, and trust me, they've come in handy in many, many situations that we've had occur on campus. Increased patrols and security around the staff, around the campus. And so we also have, along with Allied Barton working in our university residence halls, we have staff one augmenting foot patrol on campus, along with our NCCU police security staff and the NCCU Police Department police officers out on patrol and walking in, talking inside and outside of all of our exterior buildings. So we want to make sure that you see an increased presence, especially in our around our residence hall. We want you to feel safe while you're here on campus. Even after dark, the shuttle on demand. If you need a ride, of course, we have a regular shuttle service that travels this campus. They have designated stops, and you can find that information online about the stops. Or if you need a ride, the number is listed right there below. It's 919-530-EBUS or 3287. They operate from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. and they're available to all of our staff and students. So if you need a ride, by all means, that's why they're there. And for any chance, for any reason that if you need an escort from the residence hall to your vehicle, by all means, the police department wants to ensure that you get to and from safely. Okay, so please give us a call if you need to. Once again, I can't say this enough. This is the biggest hazard on campus right here. Because when you do what you see in this picture, which is propping open a door, you let any and everybody into this residence hall. We had a few thefts over the last semester, and this is how this happened, because someone propped the door open. Like I said earlier, we invested heavily in a camera system that helped us solve this situation. We were able to track this person. They entered through a prop door. And I'll say it like this, guys. Look at it like your home. Would you prop open the back door of your house overnight? No, none of us would, because you allowing anybody to come into your house. Well, these residence halls, this is your home while you're here on campus. So in order to keep everybody safe, we want to ensure that you don't prop these doors open. We've added some extra safety features to this to ensure that individuals who are propping doors open are reported. Our camera system has been focused in on these doors. We're also adding some audible alarms that will make us aware when these doors are propped open so the police department can respond. And we'll also be able to roll back the footage to see who placed an item in the door. Those individuals will be reported to the Dean of Students office. So I want to make sure that people understand that we're going to take this very seriously this semester, because we do not want unauthorized individuals in our residence halls. We want you to be safe while you're in your home. We want to create an environment for safe living. And this propping doors open also violates university policy. So please be mindful when you're exiting out. And I get it, it's convenient. It's convenient to come, especially in Richmond and New Res, back to the bottom doors. I've seen students do it, so I know of this convenience. But for the sake of convenience, you're sacrificing safety, and I don't think that we really want to do that. So be mindful not to prop open these doors. Next slide. And that concludes my portion of it. Does anybody have any questions? Reach out to us here at the police department or reach out to the Dean of Students Office. We work very closely together. We're always here to disposal. We're here to make sure you're safe and keep you safe. And we want to work with you to help keep the campus safe. Thank you, guys. Welcome back.
Greetings, everyone. I hope that y'all are having a fantastic day and have started off your new year with wonderful things already. So we are ramping up to get ready to welcome our students back to campus. And I just wanted to talk through a couple of things with you during my time here with you today. So Mr. Clem, if you could, thank you very much. As everyone has already said, there are so many things I wanted to touch on, but I'm not going to have to do that because you have heard about these doors. And you know not to prop them, and you know that you can't have visitors and all that good stuff. And so I'm just going to cover a few things and don't have to go into much detail in some of them. How about that? So keep in mind that the safety of our campus is a shared responsibility. It is not the responsibility of one party, of one department, one division, or one group of people. It is all of us. We all have to do our part. And so when we are here on campus, when we are around our campus, we all have to do what we're supposed to do and follow the guidelines that are in place. And that's not something that is an option or that we do when we feel like it. We have that as a responsibility, and that includes us as staff, that includes the faculty as well. And so these documents are ones that at different times have been given to you, given to our students. So, and are accountable. You're accountable to adhere to the things that are within these documents. And so I wanted to reference those just as a reminder to you as we come back in the spring semester, as well as we did in the fall. We have to be just as vigilant in the spring with making sure that we follow these guidelines. That's how we were able to finish strong and stay in the fall. And we're going to have to do the same thing that we did here in the spring. So your NCCU Student Code of Conduct, it's been here, it's going to be here, it's not going anywhere. You are responsible for adhering to that Student Code of Conduct. The Community Living Standards Guide, that if you live on campus, you need to make sure you know exactly what that says, because the safety thing has ramped up when it comes to res life, because it's so easy. If we're careless with visitation and movement, it would be easy to cause a big issue. Because we want to keep you safe, we need you to understand what is in that document, because that document tells you what you can and can't do, and tells you how you can keep each other safe. And so again, as Mr. Clem said, there is no visitation of any kind between rooms in a res hall or between halls, within the halls. No visitation at all. So keep that in mind. That's how we keep you safe, okay? The NCCU Operations Recovery and Continuity Plan. And that is something that went out over and over again when we started the beginning of the school year. And there are still a lot of things in there that you want to make sure you're familiar with, because of some of those things are going to be day-to-day things that you need to know. Protecting the nest, the guidelines for returning to the NCCU community. And that's a good document to just reference, to understand. And I would tell parents to look at that, to understand what the university has done to prepare for this year, and how we're going to continue to evolve and grow as far as continuing the operations. And then our new document, and I'll talk a little bit about where this is relevant in my next slide, but our standard operating procedures for students transitioning into quarantine and isolation, as that is something that we have on campus for our students. So after mentioning these things, I just want to make sure you understand how important it is for you to comply with these things. And so our Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards, unfortunately, has had to handle a lot of different cases of students choosing not to follow these guidelines. Students tested the limits, and then they learned what happens when you do that. And so when you test the safety of the students here, of my students here at NCCU, then the staff team, they respond. They respond typically by separating any type of threat or endangerment that would be to our campus, separating that. And we just always hope that that is not a member of the community doing that. But if that is the case, then we have to do what is necessary to protect the community. So I want you to make sure that you are in compliance and you understand what is being said. You will be held accountable for that. Make sure your families understand that. If your parents on here, make sure that you understand and communicate to your student that there are consequences to actions, and hopefully the actions will be keeping each other safe so we can finish this semester strong too. That would be an awesome consequence. I think we would all agree. And again, this is all to support you, to support your success, to support the safety of this campus, and know that we are here for you. So if you're seeing things that are concerning to you or they're scary to you, that you see are out of compliance of these things, or you just want to talk it through, reach out. There's so many of us who are going to say, contact us if you need us. Obviously, the Dean of Students is a great place to start. We are more than happy to take that information from you, to provide some framework and some understanding, or to guide you in any way that we possibly can. And so we're here to support you. Let us know what's going on in your community. Come talk to us. And if you're struggling even with this whole COVID thing, contact us and let us know so that we can be a support to you and help you in any way that we can to be successful. Mr. Clem, can you hit that button? Thank you. I wanted to, what I did here was I actually copied and pasted an exact couple of sentences that I want you to make sure that you take a look at. So when you do return, as Dr. Ross Alexander said earlier, none of us expect to have COVID. None of us expect to test positive. Unfortunately, that is going to happen. If it doesn't, then come to my office and get $1. Make sure you call first because we want to do some appointments. I want to make sure we're safe. But I will give you a whole $1 if no student returns positive. But that's going to happen, unfortunately, at some point over the course of the next few weeks. And when that does happen, we have a process in place to transition you to a safe environment that has been established on campus. And because you may be positive and don't know it, asymptomatic is a big thing. It is very real. We want you to go ahead and pack a bag just in case. So as you're feeling good, getting ready to come back to campus, you're packing all your stuff up, remember to put some of that stuff in a bag, about 14 days worth of those things: comfortable clothes, toiletries, socks, medications, academic materials, your computer. Bring those things with you in that bag to make sure that if you do have to grab and go, that you're able to do that, because we're going to scoop you up real quick, get you safe, make sure you're fed, make sure you have what you need, and then you'll be hanging out there for a little bit. So make sure you're ready, okay? Be prepared. It can happen, it will happen, and we'll be sitting there hanging out waiting for you to pack your stuff in your car if you're not ready. So make sure you're ready just in case, okay? And when you get the call, we need you to, one, answer the call. To understand that these protocols are what they are. They don't change for convenience sake. I like something that the chief said a minute ago, that safety and convenience, if I have to choose, I'm going to choose your safety. And so it may not be what you want to do, but it's going to be what you have to do, or transition home. And that's okay, as Dr. Ross said, as long as she can have that conversation with you. But compliance again. And so time to move, and the staff say, hey, I need you to hop out and do this, or I need you to do that. Those are things that you're going to have to do to make sure that we keep you safe, okay? And while in Q&I, we call it Q&I, quarantine and isolation. It's our abbreviation for it. We have our standard operating procedures, again, to keep that space clean, sterilized, safe, to control movement, to make sure that the staff is safe, make sure every student is safe. We have some very specific guidelines that we share. Again, unfortunately, some people have chosen to step outside those guidelines, and now they fully understand that when I speak, I mean what I say, okay? Our safety has to be number one. So you have to follow those guidelines. So just keep in mind that if you do find yourself in this situation, that we're going to be there for you. We have staff 24/7 who are there to support. We're going to safely get you to where you need to go. We're going to be there if you need to call us, like I said, 24/7. Make sure you have your meals and all that good stuff. But you're going to have to follow those guidelines, as we will as well. Okay. So moral of this story is we're coming back. We're going to continue to be safe. We're going to continue to do exactly what we did in the fall, and that's follow those guidelines. That is, observe the local and state and federal rules, laws, guidelines that are coming out around your health and safety. We're going to do our part. We need you to do your part as well as members of the community. We're here to help you and to support you. Let us know if there's anything that you need. I'm so excited to be able to see your faces or to see your eyes as you're walking across campus with those lovely masks on. So y'all take care, and I'm done.
And this swings back around to me. So just a reminder to everyone that's with us, thank you again for joining us. Please take advantage of the chat feature and drop in any questions you may have. We're about to give you some live responses right now. If there's a specific question or a question that requires more specific response, we may just respond to you on the side, but for the general purposes or the general body, we'll answer some questions right now. And the first question is going to go to Dr. Ross Alexander. So get ready, Dr. Ross. Question is, a student will be taking in-person classes as well as labs. When are they required to test for COVID? This student in particular does not live on campus.
Give me that question one more time, I'm sorry.
So the student is asking, when would they be required to take COVID tests, being that they do have in-person classes and labs, but they do not live on campus?
Okay, we will start that testing on the 25th, and they will be contacted by the COVID response team on their day and time, but they need to be at Walker for their test.
All right, great. Now, Dr. Ross, I'm not sure if this next question is for you or Dr. Coleman, but will there be virtual accommodations for in-person classes? I think the student has an unusual home situation where they're responsible for taking care of someone, and so they're trying to find out what kind of accommodations, if there be any, for that.
If this accommodation is, I would recommend the student reach out to Student Accessibility Services. Let them determine if we can make those accommodations there. If we cannot, we can refer them to where they need to go.
Great, great, great. Dean Hartfield, got one for you. So student comes to campus, they go through the testing process, they test positive, and they have to go into Club Q&I. Where will their stuff, their personal belongings, be transported to or stored while they're in quarantine and isolation?
All right, so that depends. It's going to be one of my favorite answers when it comes to most things, right? So it depends on your scenario. So we have two different situations we're prepared for, is if you're being dropped off or if you're leaving your items. The students being dropped off, it's going to be a little bit tighter for them. We're going to have to take all of your things with you to quarantine and isolation. And so we'll actually direct you to where you need to go. And so I don't want to say where that is. I don't want you to get ahead of yourselves. We'll give you those clear directions when you get there. But that'll be one scenario where you will take all of your belongings with you into a moving cart. The second scenario is if you are parking your car, if you're driving yourself, you're going to have to leave your belongings, all except for what you'll need for those 14 days. You'll have a specific decal and be designated to park in a very specific lot where it will be monitored by police on a very regular basis and by security to make sure your things are okay. But that is where you will park. So if you choose to go into Q&I, that is a designated space will be there, and your belongings will be in your vehicle with the exception of what you're able to bring in your hands into the vehicle that we will use to transport you. So.
Thank you, Dean Hartfield. I can halfway answer this next question. Will there be any form of in-person commencement or a hybrid commencement this year? That's to be determined. As of right now, there have not been any definitive discussions about commencement and what that's going to look like this year. We are all eager to get back to a in-person commencement celebration. However, as of right now, that hasn't been determined. It'll all depend on where the pandemic is, local and state guidelines as far as social distancing requirements and things of that nature as well. So we're rooting for a good recovery from the pandemic, but we cannot guarantee anything at this time. And I believe that is the last of the questions. Are there any additional questions? Last call for questions, I should say.
So Mr. Clem, this is a time just to cover one thing that we did not cover that students and parents, you need to be aware of if you are from out of state and not from North Carolina. In North Carolina, our governor, Roy Cooper, had issued on December 8th, Executive Order number 181. And that is essentially an extended or really a modified stay-at-home order for all North Carolinians during overnight hours. And the major changes under this order requires that certain businesses and facilities are ordered to close to the public between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. And that includes restaurants, with the exception for takeout and delivery, Bars have to close, entertainment venues, parks, museums, aquariums, certain retail establishments, and other businesses. In addition, this is where you all need to listen. All individuals in North Carolina must stay at home or the place they will remain for the night between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. So that is the stay at home period unless there's an exception, which would apply. So exceptions are essentially foreclosures, retail businesses that sell groceries, medication, your pharmacies, healthcare supplies, and gas stations may remain open. Exceptions for individuals, and I'll let Attorney Moore Shepherd probably clarify, it really ties back to if you're working in certain areas, but you really can't just be out for social events and functions, correct?
That is correct. And if there are any other questions around that, I'm happy to answer. But Dr. Coleman, you are absolutely spot on with regard to the new order.
So exceptions, again, individuals, you may leave your home during the stay-at-home period to travel to or from a place of work, perform work at your workplace when the worker's presence is required by your employer. Again, travel for work purposes. If you're going to obtain medical care, fuel, or social services. So those are really the exceptions. Travel to or from religious service is also covered, and any travel necessary for personal safety. So, we just need to let you all know that, because this is not a North Carolina Central order. This is a North Carolina order. So for those that are coming from out of state, that order goes through January 8th. And our governor, I believe tomorrow or the day after, is actually going to be holding a press conference with an update, and we expect the order to be extended or maybe even a stricter order. We'll see what comes down, but the current order does go into effect through January 8th at 5 p.m.
Thank you for that, Dr. Coleman. And I don't see any more new questions, but I wanted to put this slide up so that everyone can take down contact information. I'm sorry, I forgot the last 4 digits to the Residence Life 7298. So Residence Life is 919-530-7298. But if you need to contact us, I also put down some of our student services that are here to help students as they deal with the challenges of being on campus in a socially distant environment. We understand that presents a certain unusual challenges, and some of our students may struggle with those things. So, the health center is available, as well as the counseling center, and campus recreation is available for everyone to participate in and get some physical activity. So with that said, thank you all for your time. Thank you for joining us. This information, this video will be posted on NCCU Life, and I will turn things back over to our Vice President for Student Government Association, Mr. Jonte Elliott.
Okay, that was a lot of information. Thank you once again, Eagles, for joining us this evening. We hope tonight has provided much clarity and reassurance regarding campus safety at North Carolina Central University. If you missed any of the presentation and questions, please remember this will be posted on NCCU Life's YouTube page. If we did not get a chance to answer your question, please submit them to ncculife@nccu.edu, and we will respond in a timely manner. Please continue to stay safe and be vigilant in protecting the nest. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.